I would love to be able to now move on to talking about our wonderful speaker. Her name is Lenny Lunden. I just want to say her full name, Lenny Lunden. She has 20 years experience as an author, a speaker, and a licensed professional counselor. And her great thing is that she's able to get people move past their blocks to reaching their goals. And her subject today is getting your ideal job or career. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I introduce Lenny Lunden. Thank you, my dear. I appreciate you being here.
And I am so happy to be here. I really appreciate being here. Is it safe to assume that if you were here, you're looking for a job? Yes. How many of you love that process? How many of you are just kind of okay with it? How many of you hate it? I absolutely hate job hunting. I've always said I would rather clean toilets than job hunt. And the thing I hate about it, I came to realize, is that it seems to me when I'm doing job hunting and applying for jobs, I'm having to sell myself. And it just feels, I'm not that good a salesperson to begin with. And when I had a lot of doubts and fears about myself, I never did too very good at a job. Mainly when I got jobs just because I kept going back. And he hired me to get rid of me, basically, was the way I usually got jobs. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to, I want to make sure I catch all my points. And, oh yeah, the purpose of this, stay on track. The purpose of this talk is to give you perspectives and tools to resolve the obstacles and challenges to finding the job that you want, as well as selling yourself. For instance, if you are not sold on yourself, how can you sell yourself? Like I said just a second ago, when I was job hunting, that was my problem with it, was I was not really sold on myself. Subsequently, I'm celebrating my 60th and new 40th birthday recently. I finally gotten pretty good with myself. So and I'm also self-employed, that helps too. That's going to be some of the major keys, is getting good with yourself and being clear on. I was listening to an audio about someone talking to someone else about selling this house they had lived in for a long. This couple, they were ready to move on and retire. The children grew up and left, and they were talking about their house, and they were just saying how worn out it was, and looking at all the flaws in the house as they were talking to someone else about trying to get it on the market. So that person said, "Wow, what an advertisement is that?" when they're talking about all the defects of the house. So that person said, how about if you, how was that house when you found it, when you first moved into it? And the seller said, oh, it was great. We were a young couple, started a new family. It was such a perfect house for us. It fit our children. And then started really focusing on the strengths of the house. And you know what? That house sold 2 weeks later when the person was focusing on the strengths of the house and the positives of the house. How many of you focus on your strengths when you're out job hunting, or tend to find yourself kind of more in some of that negative self-talk when you're out job hunting? Or at least you feel it coming up, some self-consciousness and a little discomfort, and are they going to want me? Are they going to want me? Some of the other obstacles is not being clear on what you want. Not being really clear on what you want. If you're vague about what you want, then, and I heard some of the people coming up here were very clear. Did y'all notice that? So let's put some wagers out there. There are probably going to be some of those who find their jobs the quickest, if they're really clear, especially if they focus on their strengths and what they have to offer that's an asset to the company they're applying at. Those are the ones that are going to blow it out. How many of you are really clear about what you want? And crystal clear about what you want in the positions you're looking for? So if you look at your handout, when we move on a little bit, there's this section there for you to take notes. Some of the other obstacles, I already referred to the obstacles of your beliefs and about yourself. But what about your beliefs about the job market? If you're believing my perfect job or the job I want isn't out there, it's a bad market, and you're believing that, then do you notice how that has an impact on the attitude that you come in with into the job search with? And sometimes with that kind of attitude, and it sort of puts blinders on where you end up missing the job that you want. Somehow you just don't see it. Where when you have this knowing that even in the Depression, millionaires were born, even in the worst economies, millionaires have been born, and even in the best economies, people have crashed and burned and gone bankrupt. And so what is the factor there? It's what would you say the factor is? When you say it's what this person focused on, what these people focus on. And that there would have to be a certain amount of valuing self and focusing on their own strengths or coming from their own strengths to get there. Or, likewise, to crash, what you have to be focused on. Or at least when you're crashing, what's getting stirred up is our insecurities, our negative concepts about yourself. None of you have any of those, right? Good. So this paper in front of you is a place for you to start taking notes. And as we go forward, I'm going to guide you through some exercises that for some of you may feel really strange. The exercises I'm going to guide you through. So what I'm going to do is ask you if you will just humor me, play along, do these exercises as much as you can, as much as you're comfortable with, as I guide you through them. Do the exercises as much as you can. The more you do this, the more you'll get out of it. And if you're not real comfortable going where I guide you, just stay with it as much as you can with thinking about it. And to start with, this is more thinking about it, but if you need to, if it would help you, close your eyes and listen for a little while first. Take a moment, I'm going to have you close your eyes for a moment if you're willing, and start listening to yourself. What is that ideal job? But I kind of got ahead of myself a teeny bit first. I wanted to ask first, how many of you have the luxury of taking whatever time you need to find the ideal job you want? How many of you have that luxury? How many of you need something right now? Like now. So if you're in that category where you need something now, there are certain criteria you want in that, correct? A certain income and possibly certain hours. So when you're closing your eyes or when you're listening, identify that criteria. But also, once you get clear on that criteria, and you'll write it down when you're clear, then go back and close your eyes and focus on the ideal job. And this is where I want to insert a story of a good friend of mine. He's self-employed, contracts out IT work with companies he has ever since I've known him for over 20 years. So he'll get a contract job that'll last 1 to 3 years, and in between time he rarely has a year in between finding the next contract, and he's really well paid for his contract. Well, recently now he's pushing this 60 is the new 40. He's kind of past that, and his contracts he was having this past 2 years were falling through, weren't quite working out, and he went into some fear. And he does have a track record, a strong track record of having shifted into this knowing his skills and knowing what he wants. It's really clear knowing what he wants. And he was really clear on this. He had told me this. I really want to work up until I'm 70, and I think he's 63 now. I really want to work until I'm 70. And he was real clear on the kind of income he wants, the type of position he wants, and that he really wanted to be an employee instead of on contract. He was really clear on that. And then he got another contract, but it didn't seem to come through, and he was still looking, and this has just been in the past year. And just recently, he got a contract with a bank, and it was a contract. It turned out they offered him a job with 4-week vacation, with the income more than what he wants, with sick days, with everything he wanted and more. So when you're looking at those of you who need a job right now, fine, focus on that. Focus on what feels to you like would be easier, because if you're thinking of trying to get something that's too far out there, too big, that it kind of, the doubt itself might have you miss that job. Do you see that? Go ahead and identify in the top of that section the specifics of what you want now. Something that would cover your basic needs. And maybe give you room to look for that ideal job. And go ahead and listen for a minute to yourself and identify what the components of that ideal job which is the right word for that, components are. And go ahead, so if you would, go ahead and take a moment now and close your eyes and breathe in and just listen to yourself. And listen for what are the specifics of that work that would meet that. Okay, so it looks like most people are pretty much finished. So the next step is, what are the beliefs and or fears that you have that are blocking or in the way of you having this? And can you see the possibility that if you didn't have those fears or self-doubts, you'd have this? If you were so filled and overflowing with self-worth and faith in yourself and faith in the universe, the world, life, God, whatever your belief is, just faith in life, wouldn't you be there now? You kind of see that? And can you be okay? Not there. That's part of the game of life, is these challenges. So it helps to close your eyes again and go in and listen. Identify any beliefs or fears that would interfere with you having this position. Just close your eyes and go in. Taking a deep breath and relax. Feel your chair supporting you completely. And just tune in and listen. And if you notice any beliefs, you might make a note of them. But also look at those beliefs and assess them for validity. Is there any validity to them? For example, beliefs like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. If someone says, I don't have anything to offer. Are those reality-based? What evidence? Look for evidence to support them and look for evidence that contradicts them. And beliefs like, okay, I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. Really? Is there any such thing as anyone not being worthy or good enough? So if any negative beliefs that come up, look at them and challenge them. I mean, seriously, is there any such thing as not good enough when it comes to a human being? And maybe their behavior because they think they're not good enough, but does that make them not good enough? If you think about babies born into this world, is there a power that be somewhere that says, okay, this one's good enough, this one isn't, love that one, but don't love that one? Does it work that way, or is every baby born into this world born with immense value? I mean, you couldn't even assign enough value to them that they come with. Which one is it? You were that baby that came into this world full of potential. And you were also came into this world designed with an internal guidance system to let you know what's true about you. And those beliefs that you pick up along the way, often we pick them up from our parents, that are not true about us, hurt. They hurt us. Like glass hurts us if we step on it because it doesn't belong in our foot. And if we don't get it out, gangrene can set, infection and then gangrene can set in. Those beliefs hurt like glass because they do not belong there. And if you ever, I bet most of you carrying those beliefs, and I know I did for a lifetime, never challenged them. Never reality tested them. So now it's time. Here today, and as you go forward, whenever you notice one of them getting activated, and also perfect world where we draw ourselves and people are drawn to us who will activate those. Someone speaks us like we're less than. It jiggles the I'm not good enough button. Then we get mad at them. Instead of looking and saying, oh wait, I'm not good enough. Coming into your job interview, that can get activated. Before you go and sit and listen, are there any of these negative beliefs? And have that conversation. Have a challenging, corrective conversation with whatever's activated. And isn't it so cool that the things we are supposed to believe about ourselves feel good? You're awesome. Your life force, you're precious, every one of you. And every part of you is. And the only thing that makes us otherwise is thinking otherwise. Can you see that's true? Can you see that really holds up? Because we tend to want to be right, so when we think we're bad or worthless, then we tend to make that true. But if we know we're awesome, and unfortunately we're also in a culture where we're kind of discouraged from knowing we're awesome. But if we know and that's the difference from arrogance. When you encounter someone who's arrogant, if they come across that way, they're essentially protesting too much. They're actually reacting to inferiority. When you're in the room with someone who knows they're awesome, they know you're awesome too. And you're at ease almost immediately with them. Any of you know someone like that? And when you go into that interview for that job, and you know you're awesome, and you know this interviewer is awesome, then you know the energy you're bringing into that interview. But if you're coming in with some of those old beliefs that are so, I mean, if you think about it, aren't some of those beliefs ridiculous? I'm not good enough. Hello? What? Look at some of those beliefs and see how ludicrous they are. In a compassionate way, because it was most likely if you have beliefs like that, you picked them up when you were 2, 3, or 4, picked up a lot of them from your parents and others around you, because that's how it works. We do that way. But now you're grown up and you can challenge those beliefs with rational thinking. Fears, that's another thing that may come up. How many of you, if you don't have to raise your hands unless you want to, identified some fears when you started listening to yourself? Okay, so look at those fears. We're taught, don't do our fears. Well, look at those fears. And just identify what it is you're afraid of. Whatever that is you're afraid of, just identify that. Okay, you got clear of it. So now recognize that your fear doesn't want that to happen for you, to you. It doesn't want you to experience. Your fear wants to protect you from that. So look at that, and if you've had fear there, if that happened, go to the worst case scenario. We're going to take a moment to do this. If whatever it is you're fearing happens, what's the worst thing that would come from it? The absolute worst case scenario. And what would you do if that happened? And then what would you do if that happened? And you go ahead and put that in the my beliefs part. As little notes. If you need to, if you want to give yourself a reminder, you can also write on the back. If the worst case scenario happened, what would you do? And then once you get kind of clear on that, go back and say, what could you do to prevent it? What are some steps you could take to ensure that doesn't happen? Even if teeny baby steps to take to make sure that doesn't happen. And make note of those. And do as much as you can here and now, but again, take it on with you and do some more. And anytime fear gets activated, this is a powerful response to fear. You're embracing it, you're diving in because it's trying to keep you safe. It doesn't want these bad things to happen. So, first of all, you go to, well, then if it did, this is what I would do so I could deal. And this is what I'm going to do to help prevent it. For example, someone who got their heart broken, or I guess let's relate it to the job hunt. Someone who got fired might be really afraid of getting another job because the embarrassment and the feelings I'm not good enough got so activated by getting fired that they're terrified that you're going to get another job and get fired again. And so if that's a fear, well, what would happen if I got fired again? Well, I would crash and burn and be depressed and not get out of bed. For how long? 6 months, a year. Okay, and then what? Well, then I start to put the pieces together and get up and start trying again. Oh, okay. Well, what could you do to make sure you don't get fired the next time? What can you learn from the experience last time? What can you look at what you could have done different? What are some of the things you can do to ensure that it doesn't happen again? Well, maybe I can be on work, make sure I get to work on time, even if I have to hire a wake-up service, for example. So you see how that works? And here's the cool piece. You know how we're in a culture that says don't do pain, don't do fear. And now you've identified pain is only there trying to tell you something's wrong. If you step on glass that hurts, that doesn't belong there. You have these negative beliefs, they hurt, they don't belong there. Pain's trying to tell you something's wrong. Fear is trying to keep you safe. Does that make sense to you? Then if that's the case, could you see pain and fear being you loving you? You supporting you. When you stop disconnecting from and fighting aspects of yourself, your relationship with yourself is going to be dramatically better. Dramatically better. When you start doing what you've just done, those of you who stop, I saw a lot of you stopping and listening to yourself. How many of you make a habit of listening to yourself versus talking at yourself? There's a difference now. You know, you see how parents sometimes talk at their kids? Teachers talk at their students? You talk at yourself that way, and sometimes it's not all that nice. I mean, in fact, if someone talked to you the way you do, would you hang out with them? Why do you do that then? Why would you do that? And how much do you listen? Have you ever been with someone who actually really deeply listened to you? And how did that feel? Yes. You feel wonderful, you feel loved. If you want to feel wonderful at any given time, you have the capability by simply sitting still, shutting up, listening to yourself. Seriously, getting out of that conscious head that thinks it knows it all and is in charge of it all, which it really doesn't even know what goes on in the teeny cell in your body. It can't track that, your conscious mind. It's your subconscious mind that sends the carpenters out to repair cuts and wounds and soldiers out to fight off the enemy viruses. That subconscious mind knows, and it knows you have these negative beliefs, and it actually kind of wants to draw that stuff out. So sometimes it'll draw to you, or you'll feel drawn to those who are going to treat you in a way to activate them. The problem is then we think they're the problem. So that partner, that boss who's being rude to us, and then we feel less than, and we think they're causing it. But no, they're just activating what we already picked up. Now, if they're being rude, they're hurting. They're hurting because what makes us be rude or mean or unkind? Remember a time you felt really happy and loved and safe? As much as you can, remember a time you felt happy, loved, and safe. In that moment, could you be unkind? It's impossible, isn't it? When you encounter someone who is controlling, they're run by fear. When you encounter someone who's hurtful, they're run by pain. That's the only place fear, controlling, and hurtfulness comes from. But what happens is they activate our fears and our pain, and then we think they're the problem. And I've had clients come in mad at them, and when they look inside and hear what they're activated and clear it up, the anger's gone. They resolve that. And I've had clients overcoming these old beliefs, correcting literally. When you listen like that, you're literally changing that belief on the hard drive when you have that corrective conversation and clearing what those blocks and getting them out. I mean, they're gone. And you find out when you don't react to those situations the way you used to. I had a client come and say this situation really, she thought it had upset her, a similar situation a year ago, to the point of wanting to murder her. She came in the same situation and she feels nothing. She goes, I just want to know I'm not kidding myself, that I'm not shutting it out. And it's proven out over some time, no, she actually healed because what was activated in her wasn't because of the situation, it was because of her own negative beliefs that were so painful she didn't want to live. So, that she wasn't going to kill herself, she thought kill the person she thinks causing the pain. Then we did the work that she thought was in her, and she's not activated by that person and that situation anymore. That reoccurred. And I personally have had these experiences. Since I've started practicing this, correcting those old beliefs. Family stuff that used to have me crying for days, nothing. And I tell you what, that feels good. So we bring this into our job search and our career search. Correct? Okay. Next, anyone have questions so far? I'm going to go ahead and throw this one in there. I've struggled with low self-esteem and a lot of beliefs I picked up of not being good enough, not being lovable, and drew to myself and felt drawn to a man had a relationship for 5 years who was jiggling my boss all over the place. It took me about 3 years to even realize I was in an emotionally abusive relationship, and then 2 more years to realize I was dealing with someone who was a covert abusive type, meaning that they're not cussing you out, they're not calling you names, they're not overtly putting you down, but they treat you in a way that's subversive, is that the right word, in a subtle way, so that they keep you pushed down and themselves elevated, attitudes and mind games and playing games with you and whatnot. And in response, that boy was that activating my glasses inside all the shards of glass. And then I was to the point of either exploding, imploding, or starting to go and listen. I started listening. 10 months later, so 9, 10 months later, it's actually about 9, I noticed I wasn't reacting to people and things the way I used to. And I'm still, but that came out of that really crushed in a lot of ways. It really brought me down. But it actually, that crush that brought down was actually opened up all that stuff I've been carrying. It felt like it brought me to my knees, and I keep still practice. I want to say you did it. But I was carrying all this unhealthy stuff. And recently, for 2 years now, I've been dating somewhat, not lightly, very lightly, not in any hurry to get back into that fire again. But recently I just realized, and I'm not saying this in a judgmental term, but sometimes when we see people who just don't have it together, they don't have themselves, their lives together, we kind of look at them like losers. And I'm saying it as a category, not a judgment. Can that resonate with you? And I realized that the men that I met and encountered, and it was always brief, or they just stayed in friend zone, of course, this whole time. But recently, someone showed up that seemed to be an interest, but quickly I discovered that what I was experiencing, and I just realized this, say 2 days ago, that I started realizing all these guys I've been drawn to or showing up in my life have been what I would categorize as not having their lives together. And then I realized that one of the biggest things in me that got activated was that loser energy, that loser self-concept, kind of being in that loser, you know what I'm kind of talking about? Which I know I carried over from high school stuff. And as soon as I realized it, it lifted. It just lifted. And I felt a huge shift after that. So with the things that I want to do from here, stepping up speaking, stepping up my writing, would that hold me back? If I'm carrying this feeling about myself, this energy about myself that I probably took on in my teens, would that be holding me back? What do you think? Yeah, and I couldn't see it was there. I know now that, the people we attract are reflecting us, but I was seeing these guys and I'm thinking, what? How are they reflecting me? It finally came to me. Because I was still kind of stuck in this feeling of being a loser in terms of not having it together whatsoever in life, financially, emotionally, relationship. And so there's some truth to that, but that judgment was on it. That comes with that term. Does that make sense to you? And when I recognized that's ridiculous, it takes us to our next segment here, looking at your strengths. Can you resolve these beliefs, these negative beliefs, and these feelings like what just came to my awareness without becoming aware of them? Can you resolve them without becoming aware of them? What do you think? No. So those people who show up in your life and the bosses who show up in your life who jiggle your glass, they're angels. Because they are presenting the opportunity of your reaction to them for you to go and listen to find out what those beliefs are and those fears are. So all those guys who showed up in my life were angels and blessings to me because I finally connected the dots to realize, oh, I'm attracting this because that's the energy I'm in around myself. Since that relationship I thought was the one crashed and burned, blew open those kind of energies I had buried and carried since my teens. So here you get to look and see how much that might be kind of running in the background for you. And again, even if someone is operating that because they have that belief, does that mean that about that person as a human being? Would you assign that to anyone? The only time you might assign it to anyone, I've got a little kind of heads up for you, is if it's actually activated in you. Because if you don't have that in you, you're going to see those people have nothing but love and compassion for them, knowing they're in pain and suffering or from their own pain. And that doesn't mean loser, that means someone who's struggling. Even if they're arrogant, whatever you would assign that to. You'll have compassion, you wouldn't have that. And so, that's what I was having with myself. So, stepping on from that, wrapping that up to the next one, focusing on our strengths. In this culture, how encouraged are we to focus on and celebrate and even announce our strengths? What are you going to be told if you start announcing your strengths? I'm really good at this.
Arrogant.
Getting big head, arrogant. For one thing, if you start talking about those negative beliefs, people say, no, don't do that. No, well, that's like, if you can't see them and objectively observe them, how are you going to fix them? When I talk about some of my weaknesses that I'm still working on resolving, I hear that sometimes. I say, no, I'm not judging myself. I'm just analyzing. It's just an analysis, objective, observant analysis. That's how the Wright brothers, they didn't look at that plane from one, from tip to tail and wingtip to wingtip and see what's not working here. Could they have ever gotten it off the ground? To see, look and see what's going on with me, what's not working, objectively, without judgment. But when we say it out loud, a lot of people still judging themselves. Oh, don't do that. But they still do it silently anyway. So look at those things objectively as a self-assessment, knowing you're awesome no matter what. You just picked up some glass and habits and protective habits behind it. Just look at yourself objectively there. Now let's shift back again. Think I have a little trouble moving into strengths here. And our culture does discourage that. I mean, whether you're for or against Trump, whatever you think about Trump, he certainly celebrates his strengths, doesn't he? He celebrates his strengths and the strengths of those around him, and look where it got him. Seriously, whatever you think about the man, he celebrates his strengths out loud. He doesn't care if anyone tells him what for about it. And he gets others to celebrate. He celebrates theirs too. Unless they activate one of his shards of glass that he's hiding from. That's where we see the arrogance, because he's got some hot shards of glass. But it's certainly not him celebrating his strengths. You could get anywhere you want if you start celebrating your strengths and focusing on them. So right now, go ahead and take a moment to close your eyes and look within and listen and look and scan for those strengths. And make a note of those. And I'm going to give you a few moments to do that. Whether you're closing your eyes looking within or staying up in your head and just noticing the ones you're consciously aware of. There may be some deeper ones that you're not really consciously aware of that you kind of shut off from because you were discouraged to acknowledge them. So you may gain more from closing your eyes and going within and listening. Find those strengths. Scan back over your lifetime. Scan throughout you. Scan into the deep consciousness to find your strengths. Your intellect, your competency in certain areas, your resilience, your resourcefulness, your compassion, your people skills, your math skills, language skills, IT skills, communication skills, leadership skills, good work habits, your ethics, conscientiousness, honesty, integrity, work ethic. Okay, and go back if more come to your mind as we move on. And now look at those strengths and look at your ideal job. We're going to skip the next session and come back to it. So look at your strengths and your ideal job. And when you combine those, come up with 1 to 3 sentences. You can come up with more if you want, but 1 to 3 at least that you can use to focus on where you're focusing on your strength and your ideal outcome. And if you have an interim need right now position, focus on both and focus on the strength, which is leading me to this position, which is leading me to my ideal job. Or my strengths, which is leading me to my ideal job. So if my strength is my math skills, and those math skills, I am gifted with excellent skills in math, which leads me to the perfect job doing blank. Perfect job in a... Actually, my sister majored in math, and she always made 6 figures working in IT after she got out of college. Worked at Frito-Lay the last years of her work career for decades. Doing pretty well. based on her math skills. So see if you can identify the strengths that would support you in the position that you're wanting, the type of work you want. And write a succinct, and you can rework this as you go. And take that, later on, put it on an index card or a note or in your phone, and a daily reminder to pop up. Say it to yourself all day long. Say it to other people. Think it, imagine it, hear it as much as you can, and hear other people in your mind saying those things to you. And this, my new self-talk affirmation section. My new self-talk affirmation section. And now looking at those self-talk or affirmations, whichever one you want to say to it, they're both the same thing. What is 1 to 3 next steps you can take in that direction? Specifically, this is one good one. Give yourself credit for being here. And the next one after this. And 1 to 3 doable next steps that you can do this next week. And once they're done, add another 1 to 3. And once they're done, another 1 to 3. So you break it down. I used to teach driving. And especially when you're talking a standard. When I was very young, I tried to teach a girlfriend of mine how to drive a standard, and it was a disaster. Then I got trained to teach driving. So when you're teaching, you teach one little thing at a time. You teach one piece at a time. A good example is changing lanes. When we change lanes, we just do it. When beginners change lanes and they do this, they end up way over here. So you signal, check the rearview mirror, check the blind spot, look forward, look where you want to go, and go over there. Breaking it down into those steps. So break this, going to your goal with your strengths, down into teeny steps like that. And give you a moment to feel complete, and then we're going to do another exercise. And that's where you jump back up to next steps.
Could I ask you what made you go into the job of teaching someone to drive? What was...
Oh, you're asking. I'm glad you're asking, and I'm going to put this in here now so that I remember. If you notice, I glanced back just to make sure I'm remembering some of the important points I wanted to make. And since you're asking that, since you asked, I'm going to be quite honest. I was a single mother at 25, and I had been a stay-at-home mother, wife. Prior to that, my children were about 5 and 7, 6 and 8, somewhere in there. And I was around 25, 26. And I was been supporting my kids. The child support was sporadic and not very much. So as I'm supporting my kids, I'm waitressing, cocktail waitressing, trying different things, and struggling. And so I was brought up with being taught positive affirmations and believing and focusing on doing affirmations. So I did a written affirmation for a month that I was offering a service, making, back then minimum wage was $3.25. And so I wrote this affirmation with the criteria, the specifics I wanted in the job. Where I'm asking. I didn't necessarily have my strengths in there. But I said, I'm offering a service, and I'm with a flexible schedule. I wanted to be home for my kids when they got home from school, with a flexible schedule, and making $10 an hour or more. Now, mind you, with no job history to be able to do that. So basically, I did step 1 here. Got clear on the specifics of what I wanted. But I had no idea what kind of job that would be at all. No idea. So my affirmation, my new self-talk was, I'm offering a service and I'm earning $10. I'm earning $10 or more an hour, providing a service with a flexible schedule, with the basic criteria. And I wrote that morning and night and said it every day for about a month. And then I put it aside. Well, then the next month, back then, you look for jobs in the American Statesman. And so I found this little ad offering training for driver instructor. And so I went to him and told him, well, I won't teach kids because you teach kids after school. I'm going to be home for my kids. I said, fine. They trained me, and then afterwards they said, well, now you have to go to school. This came May. You have to go to school over in Texas State and get the hours so that you can teach kids. And I said, I'm not doing that. I told you I wasn't doing that. So then I went knocking on doors, and I went to Austin Driving School, and they took me in under their wing. And come to find out, those instructors, none of them wanted to teach adults because the teens were easy. You have to go pick up the adult, you have to teach them and then take them to take the driving test. Kids, they come to you or you pick them all up at school, carpool up at school, drive them around, drop them off, you're done. After you drive them 7 times and they observe a handful of times, you were done. But adults, you have to take them to the test. If they fail, you take them back. You could wait in line at the test. But I loved it. I went all over town, picked up, I would have never thought of teaching driving. And then I taught defensive driving classes, which I also love doing. People have asked me, did I teach comedy? And I said, no, but I've been told my class is a joke. Does that answer your question? So it's really, and back then I was 25, 26, very insecure, huge inferiority complex, no job history to speak of. And yes, and that I did that for 15 years. And then it was a calling to get into this field. Went back to college. I had done previously a lot of workshops, side seminars, Landmark, if any of you have heard of them, Understanding Ourselves and Others, which has really influenced my philosophy more than college, and my own studies, and my own experiences, and how I come to understand those experiences. So, repeatedly, I grew up with a mother who wanted some property she told would never be for sale. And she took pictures of it and she just kept seeing herself having it. And a few years later, she owned it. She died owning, she sold off half of it, but she died still owning half of it. She passed last year. So I got to grow up seeing the power of what we tell ourselves and what we focus on. And so what we don't know, see, I have clients sometimes come and say, oh, I don't have those beliefs. But their behavior makes it evident they do. Because you can't behave that way without those beliefs. For instance, that relationship I was talking about, in the first year I got into it, he started lying to me and spending time with exes, and he was lying to me. And then it came out, and looking back, if I would have had a healthy self-esteem, what would I have done? I would have said, okay, this doesn't look like it's working out here. I would have moved back into my own home, and then said, see it working out to be what I wanted before I would go move back in with him. I had some roommates in my home, so when I went to move in with him, I kept my home, fortunately. So instead of staying there, well, please don't fight, argue, scream, fight. Stop doing that. It doesn't work. That came from my fears and insecurities that I knew I had and I was trying to resolve. However, if I had really been strong in my own worth, I would have, with dignity and compassion and love for him, hey, if that's what you want, go have it. This is not what I want. And stepped away. It's that clear.
Lenny, I don't know if I'm taking things out of order, but are there certain tools that you use on a daily basis? Like, I love creating a vision board. Or, doing gratitude journal, some things that solve problems, et cetera, something that you've done daily or looked at daily that will, keep you on the current.
There's a long list of those. However, there's nothing more powerful. I grew up with those. I had this all my life. My mother did those. And I used to wonder, my mother knew all this stuff and practiced it and did it, and yet she struggled and saved and died still. She married someone who kept her at least safe and fed and comfortable, but she really had nothing. And I used to wonder, how could this happen with someone who knows these principles? And now I know. She was filled up with shards of glass. She was so full. She was so full of shards of glass. In other words, so many negative self-concepts that she had picked up growing up. And the family she grew up in and how the things happen. When we're children, we perceive it's all about us. Daddy left because I messed up. I was not good enough. Daddy left because of me. Not Daddy left because he is too wounded to be a good daddy. Daddy left because I'm not good enough. Actually, in my case, it was my 1.5 a new baby was born, my little brother. And so, seriously, I finally figured out it was a lot of work. I decided I was defective and got replaced. Really, that's what 2-year-olds do. Well, then that's running that's their running as we go. So all these tools of focusing on the good stuff, it'll come. I've had good stuff come. And even some sustain me for a while, like the driving job. And still crashing and burning. I've had some bankruptcies, I would always from those, and my mother was in a very unsatisfied marriage. She was financially comfortable enough, but not in a satisfactory marriage. And yet she had all those tools. You know, if you know the vision board, if you know affirming, if you focus on what you want, you will get it. How many of you have tried that? Focusing on what you want, you will get it. And if you haven't done it yet, just start focusing on finding a dollar bill or a $10 bill somewhere. Just visualize it, see it, and see how fast the dollar bill pops up somewhere unexpected. I'm not kidding. Just play with it. In fact, I was doing this once at a talk about this topic, and a person was challenging me, and they said, well, pick up an ace from the deck. And I was saying, no, it's not going to, well, it doesn't work this way. And when I'm trying to explain it to him, and then he kept bringing in the doubtful, challenging questions, and I kept attempting to explain it. And in my attempt to explain it, I was sort of just to make a point about it, and like it just doesn't work this way. So I picked up the deck, I cut the deck and picked it up, and guess what was there? Like, okay. And even with that, I don't see or believe. Even having grown up with this and having had so much plus, when I look forward to what I want next, there's a large part of me that's not believing it still. So to correct that is to go into our fears, to correct our negative thinking. And the most effective tool, the most powerful and effective tool is, I don't care what you call it, that is sitting still for about 15 minutes a day, focusing on your breathing and getting into a very relaxed state. And if you have spiritual beliefs, then as you're breathing, bringing this attention to a higher power, whatever your belief is around that. But if you don't, just focus on your breathing, your subconscious, basically it just clears things out. 15 minutes a day, every day, at least, will be more powerful than anything in resetting yourself, rebooting. It's like rebooting your computer once a day, and then you plug it up. What is it called? Defragmenting, right? IT people? Defragmenting your computer. When you shut down like that, you defragment this, which helps the new affirmation vision board to take root. Other than that, though, writing, I am Shannon, you are, Shannon is, and writing writing that out. I set it out once or twice a day, morning and night. That's how I did the job thing. That's how I did the job. But I also had effective saying it nonstop for about a month. In Fun and Loving Ways, I'm making more and more money. I said that for a month, constantly. Fun and Loving Ways, I'm making more and more money. That was in February. In November, I had taken on kids in foster care. And I'm sitting on the floor playing with these kids because you do play therapy. And that came back to me that I was saying that a few months earlier. Vision boards, I've done vision boards and it shows up what's up there. So that stuff does work. Just in the long run, our hard-drive programming and the energy and the attitude we have that comes from that can end up undoing, at least to some degree, what we're focused on when it doesn't match, when it conflicts. So there's really not much more powerful you can do than this being quiet, going within, listening, and having those corrective conversations or worst-case scenario conversations, and then looking at the pain and fear and appreciating it. Not much more you can do more powerful than that. There's a little bit more of address anger. It's really and truly because you're not listening to your pain and fear. And that pain and fear has important messages for us. No matter how much you think, I've had people come in and they're, I'm angry they did this, I'm angry they did this. But when they look behind the anger, they find that pain and fear. They have those conversations. The anger is gone. Not only have I had that experience, I don't know that we have time for me to give you countless examples, a few examples of that, but it's just, well, my ex, when he moved on, he was lying to me about his next relationship. I had confirmation he was lying, which I already knew, but I found myself really angry for about 2 weeks, and I thought, why am I so angry? And then one day I stopped and said, wait, I'm not angry at him. And I looked and listened and realized, oh, I'm angry because I made the fact that he lied to me about that mean I'm not good enough somehow. Do you ever find yourself doing that? Someone else mistreats you and you decide that there's something wrong with you. A boss mistreats you, a partner mistreats you, a family member mistreats you, and then it feels like something's wrong with me. When actually, what's wrong with them? They're mistreating you, and what's wrong with them is their pain got activated, or their fears are activated. And as soon as I caught on to that, anger was gone. This is some 180 concepts from what we're really conditioned to. But if you look at our world that we move around in, how functional would you say it is? And could this be a core component of why we are so dysfunctional as a culture? Because we're so disconnected from ourselves. And that war with ourselves. Don't feel this, don't feel this. Fear's the enemy. And fear's there's no problem with fears. We're not supposed to act, first of all, on pain and fear or anger. We're supposed to listen to them, not act on it. And one of the reasons is fear works like a 4-year-old. If you think of a 4-year-old, gets up early in the morning, goes in the kitchen, makes breakfast for you, and brings it to you while you're still in bed. And you sit up and you look at this and you eat it as best you can. And then you go out to the kitchen with the 4-year-old. What does the kitchen look like? See, that's how fear operates when it's running the show. It makes a bigger mess than it's trying to help with in some ways when you let it run the show. But if you be quiet and tune in and listen and have a conversation, and then you're saying, well, I can deal if the worst thing happens, so we'll be okay. We can clean up the mess. And here's what we'll do to prevent it. Now fear, instead of being over here, no, don't do this. Fear is back here. Yay, let's go. Let's get that new job. Yay. Any other questions for right now? I have one more exercise for you and then a couple of comments to wrap up. Before we go on to the next exercise, is there any clarity or more questions anyone has? Okay, so this time I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes. Scan again back at your new affirmations real quick, your new self-talk. And once you kind of scan at that, get really comfortable in your chair. Take in a deep breath and let it out slowly. Close your eyes, relax, and just feel the support of the chair beneath you and behind your back. Feel completely supported. Take in another deep breath and let it out slowly. I really encourage you to do this exercise, even if it seems still, even if it feels strange to you. I encourage you to follow me on this one. Another deep breath and be completely relaxed. And feel yourself transported to waking up in your bed one morning very soon. And you open your eyes when you heard the alarm go off and you realize that you are getting up to go to that job. And as you're laying there in bed, realizing that you're getting up to go to that job, notice how it feels. Just notice how that feels. Sit up and see yourself swing your legs over the edge of the bed and stand up. And notice how you feel and how you carry yourself as you walk through the room and go through your morning routine to get ready to go. As you go down to have breakfast, notice anyone who lives in the home with you, how they're interacting with you, knowing that you're on your way out now to go to that perfect job. See yourself leaving the house, driving to that job. See yourself there and being greeted with warmth and welcoming in this position. See yourself going through your activities of the morning, your work activities of the morning. If it happens to be a night job, just adjust this for that. Coming into lunch and enjoying camaraderie with coworkers at lunch. Notice how these coworkers interact with you and appreciate you, and you appreciate them, and your boss as well. See yourself moving forward into the afternoon activities of work, and you're enjoying it. It doesn't even feel like work. You're enjoying it so much. And you're noticing that this sense of community and family is evolving in this workplace, and satisfaction and fulfillment that you experience from this work you're doing. And then your boss walks in and hands you your first check, and notice how big it is and how that feels. They haven't had a chance to get direct deposit yet, so you get to see the check in your hand. So you leave work and you drive to the bank and go deposit it. Notice how that feels. And now you drive to the grocery store or another store to spend some of it. And notice how that feels. You're going through the grocery store. Notice how you're carrying yourself as you're filling up your car, how you're walking through the aisles. As you go to check out, notice how the cashier is responding. You can just see that success exuding from you. And the joy that you feel. You go load up in your car and head home, carry the groceries and things that you bought in, and enjoy dinner and your evening routine with yourself and or whoever's in the home with you. And again, notice how they're interacting with you now and how you're all celebrating this. You are on your path and you're doing what you really want to be doing. And as you go to your bedtime routine and you slip back into bed, and just notice how it feels to have arrived to be living, breathing, and doing the job that you really want. Free of so many of those old beliefs. And free to advance even more and expand even more. And in your work life and in all other areas of your life. Just notice how that feels as you peacefully drift off to sleep. And you stay with that until you feel complete. And then whenever you're ready, you open your eyes. And what y'all just did is what I call the I've Arrived game, and you can play that game all day, every day. That's another answer to your question. It's one of the most powerful. You just sit in and feel it. Sometimes it can be hard to get into that feeling. You can't force it on. Remember pantyhose ladies? If it didn't come on quite right, can't force them. You have to take it off again and then start focusing on, you ease them on. You ease it on. Focus on the teeny aspect of that job, of that position, of that vision you just went through, and then expand on it. And if it's just not coming, let it go. But just keep it in the back of your mind, and it starts to come on by itself. If you get stressed because you're not getting into it, you just stay out of it more. If you're just like, okay, it's going to come, it'll come on. Just focus on other things, but keep it in the back of your mind. Those some little aspects at a time. And step into this. When you're walking out of here, walk out, and that the way you were walking around in your mind there. And the cool thing, most of you know, your mind really doesn't know the difference between very vividly seeing something in your mind's eye and actually experiencing it. Y'all know that, right? So what happened is your mind right now really thinks it's done deal. And the only thing that would be in the way is if you went back to those negative beliefs. So what I would say to you, cover those up. Transfer the strengths, your desire, your new talk somewhere else if you want, or block those out. Or if you do look at them, and then challenge them right away. If you see them, fine, challenge them right away. Say, oh, that's ridiculous, when you look at some of those. Any questions at this point? Okay, so I want to say, I don't know if Paul's going to put it back up. Oh, sorry.
So, I thought I had an offer coming from this company, and in the interview he said, well, so I asked him, how do you think I did? He's like, oh, I think you hit a home run. Because the only problem I have is that, one problem I think there might be a cultural fit. I'm like, well, what does that mean? He said, well, I'm the oldest person in the company. In other words, you're older than me, and so, and then, I never heard that with him.
So how much, and that would be for you to explore your own beliefs. How many of you have heard there's such thing as ageism? How far have you bought into that? And so then put up here, my belief in ageism is in my way. And then dive in. My friend who just got a job, bank out of job, is 63. So look for, challenge that belief. Those experiences we have happen so we can see what we're believing that's in our way. They're blessings. And that wouldn't have been the right one for you because there's something even better for you. And you got to that one to show you what's in the way of the better one. Are there any employers out there who appreciate the wisdom that comes with age and maturity that comes with age? Are they out there? But then, so look at your belief. You see? Look at your belief if you say that. And then go back to challenging again. In the Depression, did anyone become a millionaire?
Sure.
So sure, that stuff's out there. But there's so much more out there too. And it's really what you're going to connect with is what's going to match your beliefs. And it's so cool the way it works. When we're wanting to advance somewhere, things show up to bring up what's in our way of getting there. And so if a belief in ageism is up, we're going to encounter it so we can challenge it and correct it. And now there's ample opportunity out there, and there's one that's perfect for me. What is in me, what I wrote down here, it's because it's looking for me. You know what? That perfect job you're looking for that you wrote here, it is looking for you. Those employers are looking for you. The one that would match that has this job is looking for you. But you'll be going this way, not straight to them because of because of this next section. This next section is going to have you going over here. But be perfect, because what's over here is going to activate this stuff, because it's the one steering you. It's like, you know how ships going across the ocean are off course more than they're on? You all know that, right? Airplanes too. And they correct course. If you're paying attention to what you encounter, you can correct course. Because the off course is only in line with your programming, with your autopilot. That's all. That's perfect. It's great. That can get you back where you want to be. Thank you. That was a great question. Or a great example. I'm sure others have been experiencing a lot of. Any other comments or questions?
I heard from a recruiter not to say that you have, in other words, I have people skills, and they said, don't use, recruiters don't want to hear that you have people.
I'm glad you said that, because you reminded me of my final point, my punchline point I wanted to give to you all. What the heck? How many of you are out there feeling like that? I need to sell myself. How many of you feel this way? What the heck are you doing? You are shopping for them. You're looking for the workplace that will fit you. You interview them. That's the biggest component here of all of this. Now, when you go in there, though, if you're not sold on yourself, you can't do that. But if you're sold on yourself and you've cleared the pathway and you override that autopilot and you decide, I'm going shopping for a job. When you go shopping for clothes, will you just take whatever? Or do you have something specific you're looking for? Specific. It's when you're going in and interviewing, when you sit there and you're interviewing from, are you right for me? Is this job right for me? Will this be the right boss for me? And you get information when you do it appropriately, ask questions at the appropriate time and answer questions specifically. Then you present this persona that they can't wait to hire, because you present strength and confidence. And does that make sense? Do you see that? Stop shopping. Stop selling. Start shopping. When you're out there looking for a job, shop. Give up the selling. So when you ask questions like that, would that be a strength question? I have great people skills. You see, they sound canned. The canned answers. When you're not selling yourself anymore, you won't do canned answers. So it's sort of, can you kind of see that? When you clear this stuff and you look at your strengths, did you put those people skills in your strengths? What did you put in your strengths? Did that include people skills? That's good if it did, but find a way to word it different then. Find a way to word it where, can anyone think of a way to word that different than I have good people skills?
I think it's thinking about what people skills actually means, and so, what value can you deliver that show you have people skills, like elevating individuals, or transforming teams, or those types of things. I mean, all being able to do something like that embodies
People skills. Excellent. Yeah. But see, that's going to more likely come from when you are so grounded and having been sold on yourself. You'll be, that will come more naturally. And again, that's how our thinking, when we're in our negative beliefs and our fears, it really puts blinders on us and limits our thinking and responses. When we open up and we're in our strengths and we look at what assets do I have to bring them, and we've sold ourselves on that, that's naturally going to come through. I know you've all had probably, or some of you have had job interviewing, job searching, where you know you're taught how to bring the assets, how to research the company, show that you know about this company, and be able to tell them how you can help them. Right? Most of you have that foundation, yes? If not, I'm sure Shannon can direct you to some courses to give you that foundation of knowing how to come in, knowing about the company and their needs, and knowing, being prepared to explain to them how you can meet their needs and be an asset to them, correct? So that, you got that, and you've got your positive strengths and focus on yourself. You just focus on that with you. And when you're sitting there, you're going to answer from that. But again, you're there more focused on shopping here than selling yourself. Because you walk in knowing I'm an asset to you. You walk in knowing their needs and what needs you're going to be able to fill and how you're an asset to them. Knowing that. How many of you don't go into relationships knowing that? And it really takes the whole relationship, doesn't it? But if you know your assets, oh my gosh, it can thrive. And that means what you bring to the table that's of value to the relationship. And if you don't, you're going to undermine it. Because it's as painful, as unkind as he could be, and mind gaming and all that, trust me, I brought in as much unhealthy stuff in reaction. Trying to get him to be different. And also trying to hinge me being okay. So I'm glad this ties in too. Because what a lot of us do when we're in a relationship is, I had a client recently say, I'm just fine, and this is true for me. I'm fine when I'm living alone. How many of you, I'm fine when I'm living alone. But when I get into a relationship, then it gets messy. Why? Because when we're living alone, we're taking full responsibility for ourselves. As soon as we get into a relationship, we give that to them. And then we're saying, why do I not feel independent now? Well, because we made our well-being dependent on them. Well, do you do that in your job too? I mean, so many people make their job dependent on, make themselves dependent on their job for their own well-being. And then they get locked in and kind of twisted up because when things aren't going quite right, it's scary because they could lose this job and their whole well-being tanks. This job, it's a job. They come and go. Other ones come. Sometimes, but whatever's going on is matching your beliefs about yourself and the job field. There's such things as you'll encounter more of that. If you don't buy into that, you won't hardly notice it. Trust me, you might kind of have notice a little bit, but it's just the one who's looking for me is out there. The one I'm looking for is there, and I'm shopping for it. Do you really get a sense of the different attitude that you're coming out of? The whole relationship I was in, what was so hurtful on his part more than anything was his attitude. The attitude he brought to the relationship. What hurts us most in our life is the attitude that we bring to the situations we go into, which comes from, again, our beliefs about ourselves in the situation. Because if you have positive beliefs, what are you going to have? Positive attitude.